Welcome to Arlington Public News. I'm Sean Stackhouse.
And I'm Paul Werlin. Thanks for joining us. In this edition of APN, what would local roads look like with self-driving cars? And how will the new technology affect infrastructure and the economy? Arlington is ahead of the curve when it comes to looking down the road.
And the secret of the moringa, ACMi's Sustainable Living series looks at the nutritional benefits offered by this drought-resistant tree. And Arlington salutes its veterans.
That and more up next. Stay with us. Students aren't the only ones getting a report card this fall. The school committee has released its review of Superintendent Kathleen Bodie's performance. And you can now track and report crime in your neighborhood using an updated tool from the police department. Brenda Mahoney has more in this week's Snapshot. Give us some details, Brenda.
Thanks, Paul. The superintendent of Arlington Public Schools is getting good grades for her leadership. Dr. Kathleen Bodie was rated proficient in 4 developmental areas, the second highest rating, just below exemplary. School committee members discussed their ratings of Bodie during the November 9th school committee meeting. Some of the rated areas include instructional leadership, management operations, family and community engagement, and professional culture. School committee members noted the superintendent's work in providing a high level of service in teaching and learning, as well as dealing with increased enrollment in school building projects. Some, however, say they want more transparency and communication when it comes to key decisions.
Superintendent continues to be a competent administrator of what has become an increasingly complex district. Given the challenges of multiple building projects, continued enrollment growth, a new MCAS test, leadership changes, as well as countless new initiatives, it is impressive that everything works as smoothly as it does. Where I think the superintendent can improve is twofold. First, on transparency and communication. Often the public does not understand how, when, or on what basis decisions are being made.
For the coming year, I continue to request the superintendent to share more high-level analyses completed either by her or by her staff. Analysis of classroom walkthrough data, analysis of staff evaluation data, analysis of student or staff feedback.
All in all, Dr. Bodie had a strong 2016-2017, her 9th year as our superintendent. A school district is a complex organization, and Dr. Bodie does a great job of leading it.
In other school news, after months of delays, the addition to the Thompson Elementary School is complete and set to open on Monday, November 20th. 3 other building projects are also moving along. An architect has been chosen to create conceptual designs during the feasibility study for a new Arlington High School. Construction for an addition to Hardy Elementary School is also set to begin in March, with a late fall 2018 opening. And remodeling of the Gibbs to house 6th graders is on schedule. A parent forum is tentatively set for the first week in December. There's a new way to stay on top of crime in Arlington. The police department has unveiled an updated community interactive crime map that's accessible to anyone online. Users can search the town for crimes by location or type, such as burglary, motor vehicle theft, and disorderly conduct. People can also sign up for neighborhood watch reports that break down recent crime activity, and they may submit anonymous tips directly to police through the system. The map is an update to a previous version and allows for analytics due to a new partnership with LexisNexis. The link to the community crime map is on your screen. I'm Brenda Mahoney, and that's this edition of Snapshot. Back to you, Paul.
If your commute takes you along the Mystic Valley Parkway to Route 16, you've probably noticed the construction fencing and machinery as you approach the Rotary. The staging area is part of a 1,300-foot natural gas pipeline replacement project by Algonquin Gas Transmission. The new pipeline replaces a section of pipe where an anomaly was found during a routine inspection. The pipeline runs under the Mystic River and Alewife Brook through Arlington, Somerville, and Medford. The replacement piece is shorter and takes a more direct route under the waterways. The project received approval from the Federal Energy Regulatory Committee in May. The review included a complete environmental assessment. Almost 4 acres of land on both the Arlington and Somerville sides of Alewife Brook will be disturbed during construction. Under the approval guidelines, AGT is required to return all landscaping to pre-construction conditions, replacing grass, plantings, trees, and paths along the brook. The entire natural gas pipeline runs 1,100 miles through 6 states in the Northeast.
As a hub of technological innovation, Cambridge and Boston are often ahead of the curve. Now, the Seaport District is home to 3 autonomous vehicle design firms. Self-driving cars are being tested and taught in the chaos of Boston traffic. What impact will the arrival of autonomous vehicles have on Arlington? A recent community forum pointed out that it's not too soon to consider the effects on the economy and infrastructure. Here's my look at the developing technology and what it could mean to Arlington. It's not the way the Jetsons predicted it, but the future of transportation is coming, and it's closer than you might think.
The autonomous car is a big robot, right? So it's controlled in much the same way that other robots are controlled. It has sensors that perceive the world, that make decisions, and then control the gas, the brake, the steering.
And testing for these vehicles has already begun. The greater Boston area has become the hub for this technical innovation. Ryan Jacobs is Senior Manager of Boston Operations at Nutonomy, one of the self-driving technology companies using the area as a testing ground.
It's really important for us to be in the urban environment. We're learning how pedestrians react to these cars, how pedestrian behavior changes in crosswalks or jaywalking, and you need to see that to really learn from it. So it's important for us to be on the road daily, learning the ins and outs and the nuances of the Boston streets.
Now, Arlington is the latest town to address the topic. Residents were invited to a forum at Town Hall to discuss the implications of these vehicles and to inform residents about the technology.
For a lot of folks, I mean, this probably seems very futuristic when we talk about self-driving cars, autonomous vehicles. But anybody who's seen the ads or has one of the latest model cars, you realize that a lot of this technology that supports this is already here.
The forum featured speakers from the U.S. Department of Transportation, Metropolitan Area Planning Council, and the Conservation Law Foundation. Topics range from what autonomous vehicles actually are to the potential impacts to public infrastructure, the possible economic impacts, as well as a question and answer period. But many questions can't be answered just yet.
How do consumers interact with autonomous vehicles? And does this mean that people will own fewer cars? Will these cars have the ability to go park themselves? So do we need, for example, a lot of parking in downtown Arlington? So right now the big thing is we're trying to really get our arms around these issues and trying to understand the implications and get our cities and towns to be thinking about this and bake this into their planning. So as towns and cities do master plans and long-range plans, they think about these things.
And Arlington residents are already starting to think about some of the possible implications.
So whatever the future holds for automated vehicles, they can't push bikes off the road or off the bikeways or whatever. So that's a huge issue for me.
Making sure that autonomous vehicles are leveraged as a tool to improve environmental conditions. So, making sure they're electric, making sure they're shared, and that from that we get improvements in both local pollutants and global greenhouse gas emissions.
Now, many residents want to know when autonomous vehicles will start showing up on local roads.
The way people perceive it is there's one day where you don't have autonomous vehicles, and then there's one day where they're ready and they're everywhere. And it really is a progressive rollout. So you might have autonomous vehicles in a local area under certain weather conditions, and then you can all of a sudden start testing in a bigger area or in a separate market or under more extreme weather conditions. And that will slowly roll out. You won't necessarily see it where one day your neighbor has a self-driving car in their driveway.
But even the experts differ on when that day will come.
We're not talking about 15 years, we're not talking about 20 years, we're not talking about 25 years. This is happening soon. It could be as soon as 2-3 years from now, maybe it'll take 5, maybe it'll be 7, but it's going to happen relatively soon.
When that day does come, other questions will come with it.
It's one thing to say, okay, in 25 years there will be all autonomous vehicles on the road, but what happens in 10 years when there's the combination of the two?
Certainly the predictability of other drivers is a big challenge. When we're trying to build technology that does follow the rules of the road, when there are circumstances where that doesn't apply, And so we need to figure out how to handle those situations in a graceful, safe way.
Moving past these questions is vital for development at Newtonomy.
We want to help to explain it and make sure that people are comfortable with it, because without the buy-in of the public and the understanding that this is everything we're working towards is increasing the safety and the accessibility of this technology, then we can't move forward either.
Newtonomy, along with Optimus Ride and Delphi, continue working in the Seaport District, pushing to reach testing and safety milestones set by the City of Boston before expanding their range. For Arlington Public News, I'm Sean Stackhouse. You can watch the entire Autonomous Vehicle Education Forum on ACMi.tv or check your local cable listings. Paul, it seems like the more that I learn about this, the more questions I have. But I'll tell you, it was really, really cool to actually see an autonomous vehicle when I took the trip to Newtonomy.
Well, I think if autonomous vehicles can learn to navigate Boston traffic, they can go anywhere. Now all they have to do is learn how to park in Boston. That would be a real achievement. And Ponder Soccer. Both the boys and girls team seasons come to a dramatic finish.
And Arlington says thank you to its veterans and their families. That and more when we come back.
Hi, I'm Hugh Hanley, your host from Songs from the Circle. I hope you'll join us for this 5th season of Songs from the Circle that we'll be taping here at ACMi Studios. We'll be doing 4 sessions here in August and soon 4 more in February. I hope you'll join us for some songs, finger plays, and music activities. Great fun for young children and adults too.
In arid locations, the search for an affordable, drought-resistant source of nutrition is a constant challenge. In ACMi's new series, Sustainable Living, producer Margie DeMonte introduces us to the nutrient-rich moringa tree and a group working to spread its growth in Tanzania.
I'm so pleased to have you here, Mr. Maturana, on my show today.
Well, thank you, Margie, and many thanks to ACMi for giving me this opportunity. So let's get into moringa.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. That's a full-grown moringa tree. It gets to be about maybe 20 feet high at full growth after perhaps 3 years. The great benefit of the moringa is the nutritional value of the leaves, the nutritional value of the beans, and the economic value of the beans. The beans contain an oil which is very valuable on the world market. But we're most interested in the nutritional value of the leaves for the villagers. The nutritional value of the moringa is most important. It has multiple times the number of vitamins of common foods, 25 times the iron in spinach, et cetera, et cetera. One can shred young leaves, put them in a soup, and there are a lot of benefits to eating the fresh young leaves, which are very high in vitamin C, with the powder, which is very high in everything else, especially iron, because the vitamin C fosters the intake of the iron. It's been adopted as one of the go-to foods for famine for the World Health Organization.
This is the powder right here. You could see that. This is from dried leaves, and this is what you would actually put in smoothies, or I actually use it and put it in yogurt.
If you look at a map where there's malnutrition and semi-arid areas, they're absolutely congruent. Okay? One falls right on top of another, which makes it perfectly appropriate. We have a trainer who's actually putting them into the moringa business. So as they're picking the leaves and feeding them to their children, they're also learning the business end of it.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Okay, so after 3 years, they'll have mature trees. They'll be able to pick the beans. And our trainer is also going to buy the seeds and sell them on the world market. And also it's a government-sponsored program so that 10% of the revenue of these activities is put into a savings account, and the organization matches it. The villagers have planted over 2,000 trees, and that's a great deal of work.
Amazing.
And in the fall, around end of November, December will be the first crop. The first crop is very modest, but after 2 or 3 years, it really accelerates. And the villagers just have to keep faith until then.
To watch the full episode of Sustainable Living, check your local cable listings or visit acmi.tv.
Arlington came out to thank its military veterans last weekend. Frigid temperatures accompanied the marchers down Mass Ave to the Central Fire Station. The ceremony began with a ringing of the bell 11 times to commemorate the end of World War I on November 11, 1918. Veterans Affairs Director Jeff Chunglo acknowledged the day's importance before a local official shared their thoughts.
What veterans deserve and what they are seeking is understanding, appreciation, and belonging. Veterans know what it's like to stand guard in the chill of the night, watching over others while they sleep. They understand the meaning of hardship and sacrifice, serving their country in foreign lands far from loved ones. It's equally important to recognize the sacrifices of our military families. Our Gold Star families that have paid the ultimate price for our freedoms, and our Blue Star families that await the safe return of a loved one.
I hope in Arlington, what we do today is called this the new day of the year, where we come together and commit ourselves to action. That today we put in stone what we're going to do throughout the next year to help veterans. Whether you're an individual, let's say you want to go to a VA and volunteer for a veteran. That's something that you can do. Let's say you want to go to a soup kitchen throughout the year to help serve a meal to a veteran. If you're an employer, why don't you hire a veteran?
We honor not only combatants, but also those whose primary duty might not have been to shoulder a weapon and directly engage belligerents. We pay tribute to those who keep the supply lines open, the mechanics, the drivers, the transport pilots, and other logistics personnel. We honor military health care professionals, medics, and others who feed and care for our troops. We recognize those involved in intelligence or signal operations or planning. We honor our military police and our engineering construction units. In times of war and peace, these men and women have taught us all the importance of service above self.
Korean vet Coswell DeChecha was presented with a medal honoring his service to the country of South Korea.
In grateful recognition of your dedicated contributions, it is our privilege to proclaim you as an ambassador for peace. With every good wish of the people of the Republic of Korea, let us each reaffirm our mutual respect and friendship that they may endure for generations to come. And it's signed by the Minister of Patriots and Veterans Affairs, the Republic of Korea.
Thank you to all our veterans for your service.
Along with veterans, everyday heroes were also honored recently. Nearly 200 American flags stood waving at the Arlington High School lawn leading up to Veterans Day. Each flag was purchased by a loved one in recognition of their local hero. This is the second year that the Rotary Club of Arlington has sponsored the Flags for Heroes display. Funds raised support the club's mission in the town. Rotary Club members join students in setting up the sea of red, white, and blue. The students helping out are a part of the Arlington High School's Workplace Alternative Program. Peter Lundstrom of the Workplace Program told Arlington Public News that placing the flags was a great way for students to feel a part of the community. One student saying it gave him a sense of pride in America.
I feel good because representing my country, and freedom and equality for all.
People purchase flags in memory of men and women who are former or active military, first responders, parents, teachers, coaches, and others. A special flag was raised in honor of the late Senator Ken Donnelly. Cindy Friedman, his longtime aide who was elected to take his seat after his passing last spring, was joined by his family in honoring the longtime senator and former firefighter.
Here's what's happening around town. The Arlington Police Department invites you to have coffee with a cop. Officers will be sharing a cup of joe and conversation with residents on Tuesday, November 21st from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Cafe Nero, 321 Broadway in Arlington Center. And support your local economy this holiday season. Saturday, November 25th is Small Business Saturday. Shop local retailers throughout town. You'll find great gifts and support your neighbors.
Kick off this holiday season at the First Lights tree lighting in Whittemore Park on Thursday, November 30th. Festivities begin at 6 p.m. in front of the Jefferson Cutter House in Arlington Center. Enjoy music, activities, a live ice sculpture demonstration, sing-along, and of course, the lighting of the trees. You can share the holiday spirit by donating to the Arlington Food Pantry and Toys for Tots at the event. And if your idea of winter fun is to curl up by a warm fire and read, pick up the Arlington Reads Together 2018 book Wonder. It's the story of a 10-year-old boy who learns to face the world head-on in spite of his unsettling appearance. Discussions and community programs about the book's themes will take place throughout March 2018, and additional copies of Wonder in all formats will be available. Arlington Reads Together is co-sponsored by the Vision 2020 Diversity Task Group, the Friends of the Robbins Library, and the Friends of Fox Library. Its goal is to spark conversations, understand differences, and create connections through sharing a common book.
Ponder soccer season came to a dramatic finish for both the boys and girls teams. Our Studio B sports team brings us this update.
Welcome back to another edition of the Arlington Sports Show. With our annual Thanksgiving rivalry between Arlington High School and Arlington Catholic coming up, Arlington Sports will be wrapping up on the fall season. Starting with some football, AHS played Lynn Classical on November 3rd but couldn't secure a win with a final score of 36-7. They unfortunately took another loss against Concord Carlisle on the 9th with a final score of 48-20. The boys will play longtime rival Arlington Catholic on Thanksgiving morning for a matchup that is sure to entertain. Be sure to catch the game live on ACMi. Taking a look at the soccer field, both the boys and girls varsity teams made their way into the tournament. The girls made it to the semifinals but took a very tight 2-1 loss against Danvers. The boys team made it all the way to the finals and fought their way into penalty kicks, but took the loss against Concord Carlisle. Next time you see any of these players, be sure to congratulate them on making it so far into their respective tournaments. The girls volleyball team took a win for their first playoff match against Revere, but were unfortunately stopped in their path by King Philip Regional on the away court. That's all we have for sports this week. Be sure to watch the Thanksgiving game live on ACMi and stay tuned for more Arlington sports in the winter season.
And now it's on to basketball and hockey. Well, that's our show. You can check out our latest segments and newscasts on the web at acmi.tv/news. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Arlington Public.
If you'd like to be a part of Arlington Public News and ACMi, email us at news@acmi.tv or stop by the studio at 85 Park Ave. I'm Sean Stackhouse.
And I'm Paul Werlin. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to all our veterans and their families who have served and sacrificed. Good night. See you next time.